This is Anarchast.
Are they stupid or just evil? Who cares? Just find your own freedom. Make up the rappers gasp when I blast paragraphs on Anarchast. We tell them states can never last, so give them a clever laugh. They're done like everlast, and with forever past that tired shit. Freedom is more perfect, that's my word, kid. From me, the Nema V and Jeff Berwick.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Anarchast, your home for anarchy on the internet. As you can tell from our intro music, this is a rap special edition of Anarchast. I have the rapper Nema V coming in from Austin, Texas, and he actually made that intro music especially for this Anarchast, which is very nice of him. He's a rapper, he's an anarchist, and he's got some great tracks. And I'm going to actually play one of them right now because I really love it. It's called A Gun for Everyone, and then in brackets, except the government. And for those of you who watched last few Anarchasts, Ben Stone, the bad Quaker, you might recognize him as Santa in this clip. So we're going to play this right now, and then we'll come back and find out how Nema became an anarchist.
Nema V, peace on earth, and a gun for every child. A gun for everyone, a gun for everyone. Listen up, son, we need a gun for everyone. Yes, a gun for everyone. What? A gun for everyone? Listen up, son, we need a gun for everyone. A Glock for every jock, most in the gun to rock the block. A firearm for every mom, an AK for every gay, a gap for every girl, a stick for every kid. We need to arm the world, except for government. I wish kids could learn it from Barney. To defend yourself, you don't need no army, cops, drone signs, or Barack Obama. Nah, what makes us equal is a firearm. See, a no-gun zone is a psychopath's dream. Turning easy targets for his high-capacity magazine. But don't blame the thing, blame the fucking person and the no-defense dictums. Turning innocent children into victims. Fuck that. I say the problem is the system, the status quo. The state is etiquette without the bullshit. There be no massacre in Connecticut. The defender slug instead would slip into the attacker. The evil dream shattered, just like that. Due to the fact that anyone can have a gat. A gun is power, so why limit its dispersal? Fuck the ivory tower, the mindset needs reversal. A gun for everyone, a gun for everyone. Listen up, son, we need a gun for everyone. Yes, a gun for everyone. What? A gun for everyone? Listen up, son, we need a gun for everyone. A Glock for every jock, most in the gun to rock the block. A firearm for every mom, an AK for every gay, a gap for every girl, a stick for every kid. We need to arm the world, except for government. Presidents pretend to cry when some kids die. Fake tears, that's that shit I don't buy. Why? They some liars. They blow brown kids to bits. Hellfire, fire. Keep a heater by my side when I ride. Ain't finna be the victim of a homicide. I mean a simmin, not a hymn. A Christmas carol. Give a gun to Tiny Timmy instead of gay apparel. So this Christmas, let's be more like the Swiss Miss and realize our home shouldn't be left defenseless. The good kids need at least the same weapons as the bad seeds, cause the beasts always have teeth. You know what? We could have peace if we ignored the gang in DC and viewed every human equally, to pursue our dreams freely, and yes, defend them if need be. Come on and sing the chorus with me. A gun for everyone, a gun for everyone. Listen up, son, we need a gun for everyone. Yes, a gun for everyone. What? A gun for everyone? Listen up, son, we need a gun for everyone. A Glock for every jock, most in the gun to rock the block. A firearm for every mom, an AK for every gay, a gap for every girl, a stick for every kid. We need to arm the world, except for government.
So as you can see, a fairly provocative video and fairly provocative lyrics, but all anarchically correct lyrics, talking about self-protection. We'll go in and talk a little bit more about that after I ask Nema the very first question, which I always have to ask, which is, Nema, how did you become an anarchist?
I think it was a robot from the future who came and told me that statism will end the whole world and we must stop it at all costs. No, actually, I know you ask everybody that, so I've given that spiel so many times, but it basically goes like this. Democracy failed me, man. I grew up thinking about all the injustices of the world, and when I was coming of age, I guess in my late teen years, George Bush was president, 9/11 happened, the Iraq War happened, and I kind of thought during the 2006 midterm elections that Democrats taking the Congress would save us. And they didn't. They failed us horribly. Nancy Pelosi did awful things. She didn't stop the Iraq War. She imposed a new minimum wage increase.
which actually hurt me at the time. I was delivering pizzas as my college job, and they actually imposed a delivery fee, so I got less tips. So I had my wage reduced by the minimum wage increase, as a lot of people did, and it kind of smacked me in the head with the reality of how economics works, that people sitting on Capitol Hill can't just issue an edict and then all of a sudden things get better. So from there, I started watching Ron Paul videos. My mom was really into him. Ron Paul actually came to my mom's class. She's a second grade teacher. He came for Constitution Day and showed the kids the Constitution and taught them about it, and handed out little pocket constitutions. And
I have to say about Ron Paul, I'd sort of cut you off and I want to hear the rest of the story for sure, but I find it so fascinating about Ron Paul. Like, everyone has their picture taken with him. I mean, everybody. He seems to be everywhere at all times. He just came out just recently, I don't know if you saw, he was on C-SPAN and essentially said that anarchy is a great thing, and he was almost saying he is an anarchist, but he didn't quite say it, but this guy's amazing. He's just going all over spreading freedom. He's like the anarchy Jesus.
The Anarchy Jesus, yeah. Well, it's funny because people use that phrase too. They say Ron Paul brought me to Jesus. Maybe they should revise it, and Ron Paul is the Anarchy Jesus. Because a lot of people, their story sort of starts with him. He was positioned in a place where so many people could see him and hear him, and it was such a disconnect that, wait, a congressman is talking about actual liberty and freedom? That doesn't compute. And I think it sort of made people reevaluate the way they thought of the government. And so I was a delegate for him. I was real pro Ron Paul for president in 2008, and when that failed, we were all like, well, okay, politics didn't work. And then it started to click that politics will never work. So I started reading Lew Rockwell and Butler Schaefer. Boundaries of Order really helped bring me across the threshold that, hey, private property and non-aggression, that can kind of organize the whole world. We don't need force at all.
Yeah, getting back to Ron Paul a little bit, I find him so fascinating. Like I said, he seems to be almost everywhere all the time, spreading freedom, and he doesn't really have to. It's not like he's getting paid necessarily to do it, although he does make some money off of some things, and he's starting up his own homeschooling thing, which looks really interesting, and things like that. But it's just an amazing guy. And like you said, he has brought so many people into this world in terms of anarchy. So many, I think he's probably the number one on the people I've asked. We've had almost 140 anarchists on Anarchast now, and I always ask that question. I think him and Ayn Rand are the two that are the two biggest reasons that people became an anarchist. And of course, it's quite funny because neither is a 100% confirmed anarchist. Ayn Rand certainly wasn't, and Ron Paul, it's still debatable, but I think he's pretty. I think he's an anarchist anyway, just because he says anarchy is the best way his exact words were, anarchy is great or something. And so I think if you think that way, you can call yourself an anarchist, or you can call him an anarchist, because sure, he might deal with the status system. He might even still think there is some value to it in some ways. Like he was saying, education is what the value of the political system was for him. It enabled him to educate people through it. But if he believes that anarchy is great, and he's basically saying that he wishes everyone was an anarchist, then he's essentially an anarchist. Wouldn't you agree?
It's a tough nut to crack, and me and Michael on the Freedom Fiends radio show predicted that he was going to come out as an anarchist after the last election when he ducked out of the 2012. We thought, okay, it was when he retired from Congress. We were like, now that's it. He's going to come out and say he's an anarchist. And in his farewell speech, he kind of hinted at it, just like now. I think this is a stronger hint, the video you posted on your most recent Dollar Vigilante post, where he says, yeah, I think that's a great idea. Really hints at it, but I think on Tom Woods' show, Tom Woods tried to press him on it, and he said something to the effect of, well, we got to have some kind of police system. But then again, I don't know. It's tough to tell, and I don't know if it really matters anymore at this point. I mean, he's friends with some of the most popular and well-written anarchists I know of, and his ideas bring people to the truth. So I don't know. It seems kind of silly. I guess we can just leave it at where it's at and say he's done great work for anarchy, whether or not he'll come out and admit it or not.
Yeah, you're right. It is kind of silly, but I guess we get kind of focused on it just because we know he basically is. Just say it. Just say it.
Yeah, exactly.
But no, he's doing great work. No matter what he's doing, I totally love all the things he's doing, and he's doing so many things. I think he's sort of. They might have a little bit of a plan here on bringing more anarchy into the U.S. I think they're slowly trying to roll out these words and things like that. They might have a total plan, as far as I know, to sort of bring more freedom into the U.S. through people like Ron Paul, and they're sort of structuring it and doing it in certain ways. Or maybe it's just all happening spontaneously. Either way, it's great.
So when you say they, who are you thinking of?
Well, I'm thinking of Lou Rockwell, who...
Okay.
People like that that he hangs around with quite a bit. They seem to be part of like a little clique.
The Mises crew.
Yeah, the Mises crew kind of thing. Mm-hmm. I know Lou and Ron have been friends for decades. I don't know the full backstory, but
I think Lou was one of his congressional staffers. I think during his first congressional term.
Yeah, and when they were talking about Ron possibly picking a vice president, Lou's name got thrown around quite a bit. That was interesting.
Could you imagine that?
Oh.
I don't know if Lou would accept. He might be too much of an anarchist. I don't know. That would be really interesting.
Well, either way, they'd both get assassinated, so it doesn't really matter. They would never get into office. It just would not be allowed by the system, I don't think, at this point. But anyway, let's get into rap, and let's talk about some of your tracks there. I really like the Guns for Everyone because it says the truth about self-defense, and that if everyone did have the ability to defend themselves, it'd be a much safer and better world. But so many people still can't get their heads around that. So I like the way that you did the video with a really fun sort of flavor to it. I'm sure many statists, and especially liberals who are anti-gun, will think that that's totally insane, that video. But I think it was well done. So tell us a little bit about that, how you came up on that video or that track.
Right. It was right after the Connecticut massacre, the Newtown massacre. And, it was just a horrible tragedy, completely horrible. And I feel like people were politicizing it and trying to use it as a bludgeon to beat people over the head with the "we need more gun control." I just thought, no, that's completely ridiculous. And it's almost sort of a libertarian macho flash to say, well, everyone should have a gun. But it's totally true, because what a gun represents is an equalization of power. And so in my mind, I'm thinking, well, we don't want power to be centralized. And I think if the average person thinks about it, they don't want that either. People don't like that. People don't understand the definition of what centralized power means sometimes, and I think that's why you get Democrats who are really bad on some things and Republicans who are really bad on other things. The drug war, Republicans are notoriously bad on that, and Democrats are notoriously bad on guns, because they don't get that they're all a problem with centralization of power. I think I've got a phone ringing. Turn that off.
That's probably the NSA.
Yeah, it's the central scrutinizer. Sorry about that. I'm going to go ahead and... So when I made the video, I thought, well, also this can be my Christmas gift to the world, and we can have it be, well, this is peace on earth. How you achieve peace on earth is you reduce the power disparities. Right now we have such an amazingly insane power disparity between the state and the average person. I mean, the US government literally is working on, I don't know if it functions yet, on a project where they can shoot tungsten rods out of space to anywhere on the planet. That's what we're dealing with. And so I think the average person saying, well, hey, I need to be able to defend myself, and we should all grant everybody else the same right. That's really equality, right? I mean, if you're going to talk about equality, let's say we're all on an equal playing field as far as how we can defend ourselves. And some people bring up the argument, well, why don't we just live in a world without guns and all this kind of utopia unicorn stuff? And that doesn't even work either, because if you have a world with no guns, then you have the 300-pound giant muscle-bound bodybuilder taking advantage of the 100-pound wayfish lady in the streets. Whereas if she's armed,
we could just ban gyms and steroids.
Right. That's the slippery slope they all want to fall down. Let's just ban this. Oh, and the unintended consequence. Let's ban that. And yeah, I just thought no. And it's so simple that all you have to do is really think about it. A gun for everyone. that simple phrase. And so we put it together. Ben was kind enough, Ben Stone, the Bad Quaker, kind enough to play Santa. And Michael W. Dean also kind enough to sort of help wrangle all the cats and sort of act as a producer. And the beat was a guy we know named Chris and his partner from Brazen Bull Beats. And so we put it all together. We put it out there as the Christmas gift to the world, and I really dug it. I'm glad you liked it too.
Yeah, it's great, and you have another great one. I think, what's the other one we were just talking about?
I Own Me.
Yeah.
That was the first one to really hit big, at least in the voluntarist anarchist community. It's kind of my coming out video. It's funny because at the time, I was working for a TV station in Wyoming as a reporter. That's what I went to school for. I was like, well, I can tell truth to the world. I'll be a TV reporter. And I quickly realized that that's not how you get ahead in the world of mainstream TV. Not by telling the truth, but rather by telling what the powerful want people to think is the truth.
Just read your teleprompter.
Well, yeah. Well, not only that, but give more deference to the politicians and the police than you would to an average person. Give them more credibility, I think is the attitude a lot of times. And I was already an anarchist at that time, and I thought, well, I got to do something. I got to put something else out there that's me, that I can make as media, that I can use my creative talents to do something for good rather than for evil. And so I put together I Own Me. I was walking in the park one day with my dog, and the chorus just came to me. And I had the beat. I stayed up one late night making the beat, and I was like, man, this is it right here. And made the video myself, put the video out there, and I think Lou Rockwell posted it on his blog. And I put the video out in the morning. I did my work day, and I came home, and I saw that, Lou Rockwell posted it. And I saw, I've got thousands and thousands of views. Oh, that's amazing. Free Talk Live called, and they interviewed me about the video, and it sort of thrust me into, I guess, the libertarian voluntarist world, and I've been here ever since.
That's great, and I'm still hoping to have you down at Anarchapulco. We've been talking about that, and we've already confirmed Rob Hustle, the person who did the This Is What Happens When You Call the Cops track recently. He didn't know he was an anarchist until he talked to me, and then he realized he was. It's a really interesting story, and I'm going to be interviewing him later this week. So it's sort of rap week on Anarchast. Awesome. What I've really said to people is that rap music can really be one of the ways that we can really get this message out, because traditionally it's been a very anti-state type of music until recently.
Oh yeah.
Fuck the police, all that kind of stuff. Ice-T, Cop Killer, KRS-One, the Sound of the Police, all that kind of stuff. But none of them that I know of. People like KRS-One, Immortal Technique, who spreads a lot of great information and truth. Lupe Fiasco. None of them have come out and said they're an anarchist, and I don't know if they even know that they are anarchists, but they essentially are, from everything I can tell about them. So I just have to get a hold of these people and let them know, and so they can start to figure out a little bit more about the philosophy of anarchy, and maybe put a little bit more of that into their music, and that can really affect things. If you have, that really, kids listen to this stuff, and rap, of course, is the perfect music to transmit information, because it is essentially speech. It's not even singing or anything. So, it's just one of the great ways to get our message out there, and I think we're going to see more of it, hopefully.
I'm 100% on board with you. I agree completely, and I've always thought that way. And I sometimes wonder which came first, because I was listening to rap from when I was a tiny kid, and I think some of that stuck with me. That especially the drug sort of ballad aspect of it, that we're gonna get money, how we get money, we're gonna make our lives better, and we don't care if it's written somewhere that this is an illegal substance or it's contraband. We're gonna do what we have to do, and I thought that empowering freedom was really amazing. Now sometimes it's not fully fleshed out. In fact, often it's not fully fleshed out, and it doesn't come with non-aggression, and it doesn't always come with a good sense of justice. But it gets closer. And the most important thing, like you say, is that lack of respect for blind authority, which is so important. And Lupe Fiasco, I think, is probably in my list as closest to it. He actually had the anarchy symbol on I think it was his third album, Lasers. And in his most recent, he's got a track near the end that's kind of the outro. And he says, "You know me, I don't vote." So
Awesome.
and he's almost saying it, and I think it's really great. I saw the Rob Hustle video. It's a great video and such an important message. Don't call the cops. And, you know, I thought he was an ANCAP coming out with it. I didn't know that you had sort of let him know that. But that's such important work, and I think a lot of times that as Liberty Media people, that's what we're really doing, is we're not convincing the statists. Some of them are too far gone. But we're giving people a name for this. We're giving people a philosophy for what they already know is true.
Yeah, I contacted Rob Hustle. It was really funny, and this will all be part of our Anarchast later this week, but I'll give you a little tidbit about it. It was pretty funny. I contacted him, and I said, "Are you an anarchist?" And he said, "I don't know what I am." And then he said, "But I have read some Rothbard, and I believe in the non-aggression principle." And I said, "Well, you're an anarchist then." And he said, "Is that what I am?" And I sent him a few videos. I sent him a Larkin Rose one, and another one might have been Stefan Molyneux. A couple of those really good ones that sort of tell you what the state is and what anarchy really is. And and he wrote me back. He goes, "Oh, I didn't know. I'm an anarchist." So it was that easy. And I think people like KRS-One, if I just sat down with him, like he's so smart. I don't know if you've paid attention to him. I've always loved KRS-One. He calls himself a philosopher. My Philosophy is one of my favorite tracks that actually Stefan Molyneux should use that as one of his intros for one of his podcasts. It's really great about philosophy. I'm sure he must probably know, but he probably doesn't know. He's probably just missing that little piece. And if I could just get a hold of him, we could get him to say, "Yeah, I'm an anarchist," and be proud of it, right? So yeah, we're getting there. So it's really interesting times, and we'll see what happens, but I think we're going to get a lot more people on board. And so if anyone knows Lupe Fiasco out there, tell him to contact me one way or another, and I'm willing to pay some portion in Bitcoin if you can do that, because I think it's really important if we can get, because he's a fairly big name. Nothing against Nema V, but yeah, like he's quite well known in the rap community, and if we can get him to be on a program like Anarchast and say he's an anarchist more forcefully when he's being interviewed or things like that, that will really help to change things. So yeah, it's going to be interesting in the years ahead. Now, of course, rap music came out from black people in the U.S., of course, and they were the black community in the U.S. has been the one that has really seen all the bad sides of the state for centuries. So the rap music really came out, and it just sort of stated what they were seeing, and that was like the police are bad. There's nothing. Public Enemy, 911 is a joke. That's essentially the same as this is what happens when you call the cops. So they've already had that, but it's really starting to expand, and it's sort of funny because now, I don't know if you saw this. This was so brutally bad. Snoop Dogg, it was last year, I believe. He had a video, and I forget the exact title or the exact words, but it was something like, "Turn in your guns, y'all." Really? It was after.
I remember hearing about it. I don't know if I ever actually heard the track, though.
I couldn't,
more than it being a rumor.
Yeah, I couldn't even watch it because it disgusted me so much how he had just, he came from this whole culture and sold himself as this person who's a gangbanger and all this sort of stuff. And now he's like, "Turning your guns to the government, y'all, for peace." It's like, oh my God. Either he's completely deluded or someone has sort of made him do that. One or the other, but either way, it's not good.
I think he smoked a little too much.
I've hung out with him a few times, and once in Vancouver and once in LA. And yeah, he both times he won't remember. Like he was so high, like he could barely even speak. So yeah, he smokes quite a bit.
Wow. Yeah, that I guess that's it. But yeah, and that really upsets me too. I feel like a lot of people, especially when rappers get arrested, which happens a lot, and usually there's a gun charge involved. And I feel like if you're multi-millionaire Lil Wayne, why don't you fight that on Second Amendment grounds? I mean, Lil Wayne went to jail on a gun charge, on a possession of a gun charge. He couldn't have hired the best defense lawyer he could come up with and fight it publicly and get the people on his side. I was really disappointed by that. And he talks about it in later albums. He throws shots at the government. I mean, he's Lil Wayne, so he's not really a serious kind of philosophical rapper, but he throws his shots. And I feel like, what would it take to get a high-profile rapper to really battle the establishment legally on something like that. Or Ti went to jail on a gun charge too, and he didn't really fight it. He went there. He got out on some kind of early release for good behavior, on a condition that he would do some kind of anti-gun PSA or some don't be like me kids PSA. And I feel like that's really staying off message. That's selling out the worst kind of way to the state, who we should all avoid selling out to.
Yeah, I think the main reason is Tupac. What happened to him? I don't know if you've looked into it, or I've watched a few documentaries on him because I found his story so interesting. His grandmother was like a total gangster. His mother's a major Black Panther. So very interesting background of his family. And Tupac wrote about and said a lot of incredibly anti-state things. And he was actually starting to talk about he was going to get into the political arena, and that's when things really started to go bad for him, because I think they saw at that time that if he really did run for president, he'd probably win. He was that popular back then, and they set him up on this one charge. He was in jail for a while. I don't know if you know this or remember. For rape or something, but what it was, and the whole thing came down to, did he touch a woman's butt in a club while she was grinding up against him, and they got him on rape for that. And so you can't really fight these things. The system is, if they want to take you down, you're going down. And Tupac talked a lot about that. He said he couldn't believe that he's going to jail because he's a rapper in a club with all these girls grinding on him, and he admitted he touched her ass.
But that's his job, right?
That's sort of what he does. I don't think that was completely unexpected behavior that this woman should not have assumed was not going to happen. He went down for rape charges, and then he was assassinated, and that's a whole other story. So you really don't know. These things can get pretty deep in the industry there, and if they see you as being very popular and spreading these messages, bad things can happen to you, and not hardly anyone wants to take the risk. Tupac was the last one that I know of who really did. Lupe is getting close, but he's not super popular. He's not Tupac level popular at all. If you ask, I listen to music. If I asked 10 of my friends who also like rap music in general, if they know Lupe Fiasco, I'd probably say half of them probably haven't even heard of him. I think we've heard of him a bit more just because we've seen the message he's putting out there. So we all pass it around amongst ourselves. Like, look at this one. This is awesome. Or when he was at the Obama inauguration and he went off and he had to get taken off by the Secret Service. That was awesome. But he's still not popular enough that he can really affect too much. If he were to get that popular and continue to say these things, he'll probably get Tupac'd. So we'll see who has the guts to fight. That's really what it comes down to with a lot of these things. John Lennon, so many of them that sort of stood up to the system, they all get taken out. And so if you get to that level of popularity and you're saying these things, you're essentially committing suicide, because you will get taken out. They will take you out. So, but I personally, and this is something I wrote about recently, I had a bit of a revelation that I started doing what I'm doing and writing the Dollar Vigilante and now Anarchast and all the things that I do with the intention of I'm not going to stop until they kill me. I just sort of like I had enough. This is going to be this is my passion. This is what I truly believe is important. And at that time, this is about 10 years ago, I was searching for something new to get passionate about because I'm a very passionate person. And when I found liberty and anarchy, it just all rang so true, and it was everything that I'd always thought, and everything it just seemed it was right for me. This is the exact place that I need to be. And I decided that if I do, and I don't know if I ever will, and probably not, but if I do become so popular that they start to try to take me out, that I'm fine with that. And then what I talked about a few weeks ago was that since then I've have 2 kids, 5 dogs, a wife, and I've started to sort of have some thoughts to myself about how far do I want to push this if it comes to that sort of level. where it becomes that dangerous. And I actually had a talk with my wife and my kids. My wife's an anarchist. My kids are essentially anarchists. They don't know what the word is yet, but they totally understand all these things I'm saying. They're 7 and 9. They're entrepreneurs and starting their own businesses and stuff like that. And I had a talk with all of them in different ways, and they all essentially told me that they're fine. They know I'm passionate about what I'm doing, and whatever happens, and they're going to stand behind me. And I thought that was really beautiful. And but these are the kinds of things that fighting for freedom really is a fight. Spiritually, emotionally, physically. I don't know if you have any thoughts on my long ramble there.
No, I think you're 100% right. And I mean, Fred Hampton, the leader of the Black Panther, or a big person of the Black Panthers, was killed in an FBI raid, pretty unapologetically. Anwar al-Awlaki, who was not a good person, not a person you want to aspire to be, but he was assassinated by drone in Yemen. There were no criminal charges. There were no actual terrorist charges. It was essentially what he was saying on YouTube that got him drone strikes.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. I didn't know any of this history about him.
Yeah, and the government actually won't put out, or they haven't released the real reasoning behind it, as far as I know. But the guy was very outspoken on YouTube about American foreign policy. And he might have been joining up with some terrorists, but they didn't have any actual charges. They didn't have any criminal thing to get him on. And as far as I know, free speech is still supposed to be protected, at least by law. But I don't think they really care about rule of law. I think you're 100% right that if you go too far, if they see you as a threat, they're going to treat you as a threat. And as far as they're concerned, the media is so saturated with apologists for them that they don't really fear any reprisal or actual public outrage. Whenever they do something horrible, or a state functionary does do something horrible, the vast majority of the media that the average person is going to come across is going to portray the state actor as the hero and the victim of it as the aggressor. It's a bizarro world kind of a thing. I mean, look at the Ferguson thing with the young 18-year-old gentleman, Mr. Brown, who was shot by cops. Witnesses say that he was just minding his own business. The cop shot him. But of course, when you see it on the local news, it's he attempted to get the police officer's gun. He attacked first, and it was completely justified. And you see that all day, every day.
Yeah, I think it was Malcolm X who said that if you read the newspapers, they'll have you believing that your friend is your enemy and your enemy is your friend. And Malcolm X is another interesting character. Martin Luther King also was speaking up about a lot of things, assassinated. So yeah, it is a bit of a, and that is why I think some people are scared of anarchy and talking about these things. They do see that if they do speak out about these things, there could be repercussions in their life. But I think to me, you have to be true and have a principle in your life. Mm-hmm. I'm not just trying to watch football games and drink beer my whole time here. I think people need to start to to bite the bullet and say, I don't care. For example, I know a few 9/11 architects and engineers for kids. Yeah, perros. Sorry, I got a few dogs in here.
That's okay.
That came out as engineers and said that they signed the thing saying they don't believe the story of the physical story of 9/11, the actual engineering. It's impossible. It's not possible what they said, and many of them got fired. So these are people that lose their entire livelihood just for signing a piece of paper. These are the kinds of things that can happen, but. If no one starts to, if people continue to just not want to bite the bullet and stand up against these things, it's just going to get worse and worse to the point where no one will want to live on this earth if we don't do something. So people need to start to wake up and to do something and actually take the repercussions of it.
Well, I think they are, and I think one of the most beautiful things is crypto-anarchy and the fact that the internet is decentralizing this kind of stuff so much. There are so many completely philosophically perfect anarchists out there talking right now. There are so many different podcasts that people are listening to right now as we speak even. And so there is no one person I think they can kill at this point. Back in the day of Martin Luther King, he actually had to have like a physical public gathering and go and give a speech and be there out in the open in a public space, we don't have to do that. I mean, as far as I know, you and I are both in the privacy of our own homes right now. Nobody knows that we're doing this, that we're saying these things until this gets put on YouTube, and then everybody will know all at once, and it can't be stopped. I mean, they can't really, even if they pulled it off, it's going to exist somewhere on somebody's hard drive. One of my favorite phrases is, taking something off of the internet is like taking pee out of a swimming pool with a teaspoon. You can't do it. It's already everywhere. And so in that regard, I think we have an amazing tool at our disposal. Now, the statists also have technology at their disposal too. So, but it's really now a battle of the wits, I think. And I think that what's right wins in the end, because what's wrong is wrong for a reason. It's wrong because it won't be able to perpetuate itself. It'll eventually fizzle out. It'll die under the weight of its own violence and inconsistency.
Yeah, I agree. Actually, that's something I've said for many years is when people ask me about my hope for more freedom in the world, I say I'm very optimistic, and there's two reasons, and the reasons that you just brought up. And one is the state is going to die all on its own just because it's just wrong. And over time, it's just going to die. The US dollar is going to collapse. That will massively limit the US government. It's just going to collapse all on its own over time. But on top of that, as you pointed out, there is an awakening happening thanks to the internet and decentralization. That is just making this message unstoppable now. And like you said, there is no one choke point that you can just kill Stefan Molyneux or kill, Larkin Rose, and all of a sudden no one talks about anarchy anymore. No, you can't stop it. And one of the really beautiful things about what's going on with decentralization, Bitcoin, how the entire internet is going to become more and more decentralized, is that this will actually, as you said, enable more and more freedom. And it actually could end up destroying the state as we know it, all with no violence whatsoever. Just a complete, it's a beautiful, beautiful idea and time right now, that because a lot of the older anarchists, they used to gather around, and that's where anarchists sort of got this bit of a stigma that they're violent, they want to go in and blow up government buildings and stuff, because that used to be sort of the only way if you wanted to stop it, you really could, because you couldn't get your message out there any other way. But now and of course, using violence is so anarchic. It's so antithetical to the entire philosophy that it really doesn't work, even if you do use violence, because you're obviously, if a bunch of us anarchists go to Washington, D.C. and start blowing up people and people are dying, they're not going to be listening to our message of how we want the non-aggression principle, and it just doesn't make any sense. So the only way we can win is through ideas, and that brings us back to what we started with, was rap can really be a big help to transmit those ideas. So I'm really glad you've been doing those tracks. I hope you do more. I hope you come down to Anarchapulco, and we should basically wrap it up. Why don't you let anyone know anything else that you'd like them to know, if you have a website or anything, or any final comments?
So I'd love to come to Anarchapulco. I'd like to wait until we get a set date, though, and then I'll look into it a little bit further, but I'm definitely excited about that as a possibility. If people want to hear more and see more of me, you can check out my YouTube channel at the Nema V. You can hit me up on Facebook, Nema Vidati, Twitter at Nema Vidati. You can actually just Google my name and you can find a bunch of stuff. My tracks are there. My tracks are also at SoundCloud/Nema V. And you can check out old archives of me doing talk radio on Freedom Fiends. And occasionally, I think what I'm going to do is, I was working on an album. I've got like 10 songs, a lot of them unreleased, that I just never really got around to the marketing and promotion side of it, that are just sitting there on my hard drive ready to go. So I think at some point soon, I'm just going to start dumping those on YouTube, maybe once a week, just throw them up and not worry too much about making actual video, just put the song up. There's one or two that I kind of do want to make a video for, but that'll probably come a little later. I've got a 7-month-old daughter, so it's kind of tough for me to get around to getting free time back in my life. But as she gets older and stuff, I should be putting out more things. Also, definitely looking forward to collaborating with people. If people have beats or rhymes or verses and want to help to promote freedom through rap, definitely get a hold of me on Facebook, Twitter, or just Google me. I'm around. You'll find me.
That's awesome, and I totally support everybody supporting other anarchists doing what they're doing. So that really helps us to get the message out there as well. So if you're watching this right now, definitely check out Neema's videos and music and spread them around and share them as much as possible. And it could be amazing how these sort of things can spread. And I know me personally, as sort of a funny end note here, that I just decided to remove all music that wasn't pretty anarchic from my music player recently. So I've basically just got on there Lupe Fiasco, you, Rob Hustle, Rush. And actually, a lot of music is anarchic, but they don't really speak the message too much. But if I hear any sort of language that I don't like about statism in a song, I'll take it right off my playlist. But I've been tending to get more and more music which is really anarchic nowadays. Vinny Paz is another one that's really good. So yeah, the more that's out there, the better. So if you're a person out there, you're into rap or music, start making your own stuff and get it out there. The more the better. So that's it. I'd like to thank Nema V for being on with us. I hope to see him down in Acapulco, and I think it's going to be the end of February, but I'm going to announce it later, probably later this week. And so we'll let you know more about that. So that's it for Anarchast, your home for anarchy on the internet. Peace, love, and anarchy.
This is Anarchast.